Annie Cooper from the Annie Tunes In podcast here with Kurt, CEO and founder of Vital Proteins, a collagen peptide brand that has gained a ton of popularity in the last couple of years. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today, first of all.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I kind of want to ask you is the whole story behind the brand. How did it start? How did you get the name?
Yeah.
And all of that.
I mean, if you look at the story, right, I was back in 2012, I was trying to get back into my running game and really training almost every day. And finding that I couldn't recover from the runs. It would take me probably 4 or 5 days to recover from a long run, whereas like maybe a decade earlier I could continue to do that in back-to-back days. And I was like, well, why is this? Why can't I still run 5 to 7 days a week? And you hear about people having to give up their running game, right? They hang up their shoes in their 40s because typically your body can't handle that type of endurance. And it had been such a long part of my life, it was such a big part of my life. It was really about figuring out a way I could continue to run. And so my daughter at the time was in medical school, and I started asking her, it's like, why do people have to stop running? Because her and I had run the same thing. Probably when she was 12, I started running with her a lot. We do all these 5Ks together, which is
I love that. My dad was my running coach, so I have a similar background.
She's a much better runner than me. She's running a lot more.
That's awesome.
But so then the idea was like, so just talking to her and asking her like, why is it that you have to hang up your running shoes? It's such a common story. And she's like, well, probably what's happening is you're wearing down the cartilage structure in your bones or in your joints. And what's happening is you're not rebuilding them up quick enough. You're probably getting bone-on-bone rubbing. You're probably getting inflammation in the joints because it's not able to rebuild itself before you go back out and run. And I started saying, well, what can I do to actually increase or accelerate that growth back? Because it was growing back when I was younger, but as I was getting older, that's not happening.
Right.
And we came across this paper that was published right around the same time, and it was called The Essential Role of Glycine in Collagen Synthesis. And you read through this paper, and it's pretty interesting because it talks about how much does your body need of glycine in order to produce all the collagen that your body needs in a day. And your collagen is the most abundant protein in your body, and it's essentially making up all of your joints, your bones, your organs, your skin, hair, nails. And so looking at that paper, it kind of outlined this, that your body needs about 15 grams of glycine a day. It says your diet can get about 3 grams. Your body can synthesize 3 grams just through synthesizing other amino acids. But you were still short about 9 to 10 grams of glycine a day. And if you look at that, like glycine is not an essential amino acid, but it's a conditionally essential. And some people debate that, but your body can produce it, but it just can't produce enough of it. And glycine is really critical for that synthesis of collagen. So just reading this paper is like, okay, how can I amp up my glycine? And so I started just like researching glycine, what sources, where could you get glycine from? And just looking at protein, like looking at a protein diet, whether it's steak or fish or chicken or eggs or even whey protein, right? None of these really had any rich source of glycine. And I basically have to eat like a 30-ounce porterhouse every day in order to get the basic amount of glycine. And so, or I think it ended up being like 30 eggs or something like that.
Holy crap.
So I said, okay, well, where else is rich source of, where could I get glycine? And at that point in time, I'm like, I started thinking like, okay, I found that like animal skin had a lot of glycine in it. Mm-hmm. And where is this? Like, so chicken skin, fish skin, right? And how could I make that in more abundant? Because what's happened in our food supply is we've stripped all that out, right? We've gone to very clean protein, right? If you look at the 70s and 80s, we stripped out fat, we stripped out the skin that was on chicken and fish, right? Because we're actually going after getting rid of fat in our diet, right? So lean cuts of protein, stripped the skin off, which had the subcutaneous fat on it, and we didn't want that. But what happened when we did that is we cut out, all of the rich glycine in our diet. And so looking at these sources, it was like, okay, skin had a lot of glycine in it. Skin was really just pure collagen, 90% collagen. And so looking at that, I looked at what was on the market, so collagen's about In a 20-gram dose of collagen, you can get about 3.5 to 4 grams of glycine.
Okay.
And kind of when I looked at that, I said, wow, that's really a vital protein. I'm like, so it was reading this paper, thinking about collagen, thinking that it was really vital for my body to get it. And I would say like the end of like September 2012, I'm like, I read that paper, was thinking through that, thought of it being very vital, and I'm like, I wonder if that domain name is available. And I went out and looked at I looked at GoDaddy and the name was available, and I'm like, this is a sign. And I just went and started building the company right then and there. And I think like October of 2012, I leased this old warehouse facility, got rehabbed it into a food facility, and just started making collagen. Took about 4 or 5 months to gut and rehab it. We did it all ourselves, my nephew and I, and then started producing collagen in the summer of 2013.
Wow. So when you first started thinking about collagen, did you know you wanted to build a brand out of it, or did you just kind of want to like get the word out to people?
Yeah, that was it. I actually just thought of it as a side hobby, right? I thought that the benefit of collagen was so interesting that I just wanted to tell people about it, and I wanted to see if I could produce it. The thought of what coming up with the brand is like, I looked at, there were collagen tablets on the market, and people were advocating you take like 3 of these tablets a day. If you look at the amount of collagen that was in there, it was like 1 gram of collagen, maybe 2 or 3 grams of collagen, and you'd only get like 300 milligrams of glycine. So you wouldn't get that entire 10 grams of glycine that you needed a day. You'd have to take 80 tablets a day to get it. And so the thought is I was just going to make my own, where I didn't have to take tablets. My goal was to kind of create this very clean powder that I could add to my coffee, I could add it to a smoothie, but because in order to do it, I was calculating, right, I needed like 40 to 60 grams of collagen a day to get that for my body. And so my thought was, I'm just going to build this for myself. I'm going to tell people about it. And it was kind of just a hobby. The first thing I did is I went to PaleoFX in Austin in 2014. And that was really like the first venture out. I think it was April 2014. And that very first show was like 4 days long, really long, like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for 4 days in a row, standing on concrete. But just talking to people and I spent a lot of time talking to Melissa Hartwig and Mark Sisson, and it was a very small community at the time, and that got the word out about what the benefits of collagen were.
So you started by going out and kind of talking to people versus building your website first and kind of doing things through the internet. You went out and talked to people.
Well, I mean, we launched the website in November of 2013, and the first time we went out and talked to people was April of 2014. So we had the website up and running, but to get traffic there, I think our first customer was November 5th of 2013, and so that was kind of like our birthday, I guess, for the company and stuff, which we just celebrated our 6th year. But it really started with our website, getting out there talking to people, and we spent. We didn't go to retail. Like a lot of people when they started a brand, they would try to go to retail and try to get it on store shelves. The whole goal here was just like get the word out there, do a lot of events, meet a lot of people, tell it, word of mouth, get the website up and running, and then eventually, I think in 2015, we launched on Amazon. And
is that so when people go to stores, they immediately know who you are, kind of want to buy your product?
Well, I think so. I mean, what I didn't want to be in a position of trying to sell the brand to a retailer and then somehow talking to the customer. I wanted to go directly to the customer, get them aware of the brand, so when it was on shelf, it was a convenience for them that they already knew what the brand was. So really a turning point was like the end of 2016. Whole Foods approached us and was like, hey, we want to carry you guys nationwide. Great, and we signed a deal and went into shelf in 2017, and that was kind of the start of our retail business, and it kind of cascaded and exploded after that.
So you have a background at NASA, is that correct?
Yeah.
Helping astronauts in training. So tell me a little bit about that and how you kind of transition into this whole, I guess, health and beauty industry from NASA.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I started off aerospace engineering, right? Went to work down in Houston, really designing space missions for the space shuttle, and then training the astronauts how to fly those missions after you design them. All through, after that, then I left. I went and worked for Motorola early in the 90s and helped develop cell phone technology. So like before cell phones were a thing, Motorola, we worked on designing these networks all around the world, bringing cell phone to the masses. Then after that, I went and worked at like level 3 communications, and we kind of built the backbone of the internet really before the internet. So 1998, really the internet was just coming about, and really we laid down massive amount of fiber optic all around the world, and really that's still what the backbone of the internet is today. After doing that, I kind of recognized like, okay, what's going to run over this? I knew that e-commerce was going to be a big part of that. So I started developing e-commerce businesses. But if you look through all of this, right, there's probably two underlining tones behind it. One is I was always really into fitness. So I was always really running a lot. I was weightlifting a lot. I was just eating a very healthy diet. And that made up my lifestyle, basically. And on top of that, I was always an entrepreneur. I think I was an entrepreneur even when I was a kid, first grade, second grade.
That's awesome.
Always trying to think of some idea. I had started probably a ton of businesses before Vital. One of them, was a data center business, because after level 3, I was coming back and running that, which supported my family for almost 20 years, right? And on top of that, there was always this thought of like, wouldn't it be great to have a business that, I combined, first of all, made a living at it, combined my passion for an entrepreneur and also my lifestyle of wellness, right? So when I was looking at Vital, I said this is like a great opportunity for me to kind of, maybe the latter third of my career to say, let's try to integrate everything together. That's what I wanted to do, and that was like unbelievable, because I love what I do every day, and it really is amazing. So
that's the best feeling, when you love your job, you love your work, you love everything about it. Then that shows that you can do it for a long period of time, and that's amazing. You're not going to get burnt out by it. So going back to the running, how did you know initially to look at your diet versus thinking you didn't have like some sort of injury and it was collagen?
Yeah, I mean, mostly because I knew my body recovered. Like after 4 or 5 days, I knew I could go back out there and run. And originally I thought it might be injury, but my daughter was saying, no, it's not an injury.
Okay.
She was like, and she would like kind of, she wasn't a full-fledged doctor, but she'd look at my joints and she could tell that I hadn't pulled a ligament or a tendon or fractured anything. And so really it was all about, trying to go back to the question, sorry, it was...
kind of in running, how you knew it wasn't an injury and how it was collagen that you needed.
Yeah, I mean, so in that journey, right, so it's the whole recovery, right? So by going out there running and experimenting with my body, and then you're saying looking at my diet, right?
Yeah.
So originally I thought like, we were thinking, okay, it's inflammation, because inflammation can always be really detrimental to training, right? So if your body is like putting out cortisol and trying to, inflammation sometimes is healthy to protect the tissue, right? So what I did is I started looking at my diet, and I went on like a paleo diet at that time, and I cleaned up, I removed like dairy from my diet. And part of that journey was like, okay, I was weightlifting, and I'm used to that post-workout, take a whey protein shake, get the branched chain amino acids, and now I'm dairy-free, right? And I tried the plant proteins, and I'm like, these are just not for me, right? They're a little gritty, a little bit less protein, because I think they're like 60-70% protein. And so after doing that, it still didn't have much of an effect, right? I really reduced processed carbs. I really focused on protein and fat as part of my diet, and that didn't have all the impact that I expected. So.
That's interesting. So you've now built a billion-dollar brand at this point in under about 5 years, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So how did you go about doing that so quickly with hiring people, and where do you even start?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, right? I was just talking this week with a group, and if you look at a large CPG company, a large successful CPG company is growing perhaps 10-20% year over year. Vital is, we've been growing double, triple digits, so I'm saying we were growing 200-300% year over year, right? And we're still continuing that rapid growth. And when you condense that and compare it to a big CPG, we're growing at 10 or 15% in like 20 days.
Oh my gosh.
We're growing 2 to 3% week over week, right? And when you look at that growth rate, you need a whole different caliber of staff to do that. Because if you pull from the big CPG, then you're basically creating something out of nothing, and you're growing at such a fast rate. You really need people who are, Angela Duckworth has a great book called Grit. You need people who are just dedicated and will do whatever it takes to get it done and be successful at it. So I always screened for people that were entrepreneurial, risk takers, had the grit, they wouldn't give up, and they would basically figure out a way to get things done. And so originally in the first few years, the company was just myself and my nephews and my niece, and my son and my daughter were kind of consulting.
I like how you keep it in the family.
Yeah, it's all
That's
family
cool.
business,
Yeah.
right? And then I would say I'm very analytics, right? My aerospace engineering background and my NASA background gave me really strong analytics. So just looking at the data of how the company was growing in 2015, I said, okay, this is the trajectory we're on, and it was an exponential trajectory, and I said, I have to start preparing for this. So I was using predictive analytics to really look at where the company was going, and I could see, our revenue growth rate and how many people I would need it, capital-wise, because we vertically integrated, we did all our manufacturing, and I needed to have a larger facility, a corporate headquarters, more staff, and I said, okay, so going in end of 2015, I said, I gotta go from the 4 people, which were my family, and I said, I gotta hire 16 more people, and I said, I'm gonna focus mostly on social media, influencers, marketing, and building out our own Instagram, building out our Facebook, going out and developing these relationships, doing interviews, doing events, and really just getting the word out there. And so all of 2016 was that kind of we call them the originals, like building that company was so substantial in 2016. Then after that, I think towards the end of 2016, I said, oh God, I started, like, even though we were still small, we started out working in WeWork, and then when we were like 16 people, we got our own office in Chicago that we just kind of rehabbed a dance studio.
Wow.
It was like a 1920s dance studio, and we redid the floors, painted it, built a kitchenette and stuff, and moved in May of 2016. And the internet didn't work there. We had to move back to WeWork a couple months later, and then we moved back in there, and just trying to make it all work. By the time end of 2016, we were roughly maybe 40 or 50 people now. So we went from, when I started those original 16, by the end of the year, we were probably 40 or 50. And I said, okay, we need manufacturing and headquarters. So what I did is, 2 years out, I pre-construction entered in agreements for a new corporate headquarters and a new manufacturing facility. The manufacturing was like 180,000 square foot. And the headquarters was this standalone building. It was an old chicken processing plant. So I thought it was pretty cool that we were going back into Fulton Market in Chicago, into the meatpacking district. It's actually a historic landmark. It's a landmark site. And it was this chicken processing facility. And we've just finished building out our corporate headquarters in June, so it took us like 2.5 years. And a couple funny stories is we're in landmark mission, and we wanted to put signs on the outside of the building, and he goes, we want to keep the historical name, hopefully they're not going to listen to this, but well, they do, but they're like, we want to keep the historic landmark nature of the district as a meat processing facility. I said, do you realize I'm the only authentic company that's in there as far as meat processing? Like Google's across the street, but like we actually take the animals and process them into food. No other company here is doing that. And but eventually the building, we just got recognized in Inc. magazine as one of the most beautiful offices in the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
so,
that's amazing.
So that was pretty cool.
Well, the 2.5 years then worked.
Yeah.
all that hard work. So talking about hiring, did you have to hire and fire a lot of people then to get the right people to work for you?
I mean, we were pretty selective in the early days, and got a good set of folks. I think we didn't have anyone leave or get fired really in the first year of the company, in the 2016 year. I think when you get into 2017 and 2018, the growth rate was still so astronomical. I think some people that came in had challenges with nothing being defined, and them coming from a large organization where all the processes, their job is basically defined, and all they have to do is flip the paper over and go to the next task.
So they wanted to make it easy on themselves.
Yeah. And so those people didn't necessarily survive with the organization. They either left on their own, or it's the unfortunate part of fast growth, because you can't just say, well, let's just take all the air out of the tires and live with it. And you have to continue to meet consumer demand and the opportunity that's before you. So there is turnover. There is sometimes you have to let people go and stuff like that. But we get better on hiring, but we're not perfect It's always an 80-20 rule. Like you'll get some great people that are amazing. You'll get great people that are a good fit, and you get people that you'll live with because they're getting the job done. And then sometimes people, it's not for them, and they'll leave.
So going back to the influencer marketing, what do you do differently for your marketing that has really worked for you? And what is your vision with marketing that makes it different for Vital Proteins?
Yeah, we don't. We used to not do a lot of advertising. I think it goes back to the original days. We do like 4,000 or 5,000 events in the field as a company every year.
Every year?
Every year. In LA, we just did this Project Big Splash for launching our beverage. We were doing close to 200 or 300 events a month there, and then overall we're doing demos in Whole Foods and Sprouts and Equinox and other areas, right? But all these things were out there actually talking to people. I think that's huge for us because when you're out there actually meeting people and educating them, because this product requires some education. Why would you take it, and how do you take it, and what's the benefits for it? But just being out there talking to people, you start meeting people, they become advocates, and you develop these relationships. And a lot of those people early on were influencers, right? And they had their own platforms. This is like 2014, before really Instagram became very big, and they had their own platforms on their blog sites, on Facebook, and then eventually Instagram and podcasts, right? And so developing these authentic relationships with individuals was kind of key for us, I think. And that's been our strategy the whole time. And I think you have to do it in such an authentic way where, they align with the brand and they also become part of the brand more authentically, as far as through friendship with a brand, getting to know them, and them honestly incorporating it into their diet. I think someone just showing you a product in a picture doesn't work, right?
Doesn't do much, doesn't convince you.
Yeah.
And you've also gained the attention of some celebrities now.
Yeah.
You launched a campaign with Kim Kardashian, or
Yeah.
Khloe Kardashian.
Courtney, yeah.
Courtney.
They've all been talking
Almost
about
there.
it. So if you look at, if you go back to 2016, so we had these really amazing influencers. We had Wellness Mama and Melissa Hartwig with Whole30, right? They were kind of like the original big star influencers back then, but because of their voice, right, celebrities then started hearing about it, started taking it, right? I think Jennifer Aniston was out there early on in 2016, in March, really out there talking about it. She had mentioned she had been taking the product almost since its inception, incorporating it into her routine, and then she was going out and talking. I think she talked on several blog sites as well as People magazine about Vital Proteins as being part of her routine. From there, then, Kourtney Kardashian approached us and said, "Hey, we'd love to do a partnership with you guys. We use the product every day. I think their whole family uses it. I've heard stories if you go over to Kris Jenner's house, or Kourtney or Kim or Khloe, they're all like Vital Proteins everywhere in there."
That's awesome.
And we said, "Yeah, let's talk about it." So it was just a natural partnership, and so we've become kind of aligned, their family as just advocates or voices for the brand.
That's what shows you got a good product.
Yeah, well, you don't pay for the endorsement.
Exactly, because that's what people struggle with. Is they're like, I want to market, but I don't have the money to pay for all these influencers or well-known individuals have. So it's very difficult to get the word out there like that. So you've done it in a very authentic way, and you've really caught their attention. Did you ever ask them how they heard about it at first?
I do, and people say they heard about it through another influencer, right?
Really?
So, yeah, usually that's how they
word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth advertising. Yeah.
So with all the traveling and events that you do, how do you find the time and energy to continue talking with people and get your runs done, maybe do kind of what you want to do as well?
Yeah, early in the brand, it was easy to incorporate the running with it. But as we got larger and scaled larger and larger, I think as a CEO, the responsibilities get greater and greater. And I brought on an assistant, which helped a lot. But one thing that happened, I think over the past year, and it took me a while to recognize it, as my calendar got filled up, my wellness, I didn't have enough time for my own personal wellness, right? Whether it was sleep and exercise and stuff, and the travel takes a lot out of me as well. And so, my days were booked nonstop. I'd land in New York at 1:30 a.m. and I'd get to the hotel at 2:30, get to bed at 3, and have a 7 a.m. breakfast meeting, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I told my assistant, I said, let's start with sleep. Sleep is so critical because it really impacts your entire day, right? If you don't get good sleep, you're suddenly making bad choices on food, you're missing workouts or your workouts are less, right? And then everything else just kind of goes away from that. So what I said, I said, even if I'm flying, even if I'm traveling every day, I go, give me those 8 hours of sleep, give me the 2 hours of working out, and then the rest of the day you can book up. And that has been transformational, I think, over the past 3 months, because it allowed me to really focus on my health and wellness, get the sleep that I need, get the workout in the morning. I love to work out in the morning. I can't work out in the evening. I don't know why. I used to be able to.
It's not easy.
No, because your day gets away from you. You're in a late meeting and suddenly you're tired at the end of the day, and yeah, that's.
And with the time change, it gets dark at like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, now it's like in the morning, right?
Yeah, so it's the best time. Yeah, that's not easy, and especially like, you know, day after day using your energy to you know, speak with people and you know, keep informing people about the brand. Getting your sleep and getting that exercise, having your downtime is so important.
Absolutely.
And I can imagine that.
Yeah, and you know, most of those things are mental wellness, right? It's being able to have the focus and drive to continue to drive the brand. So if you don't get that sleep, you don't get that workout in, right? You start getting a little bit behind the curve. And
do you ever feel like though, because you know, this is something that I've struggled with, even when you're on your runs and you have your downtime, do you feel like you're still constantly thinking about what you have to do? Like you're always like
24/7,
overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about Vital every waking moment, even when I'm running, even as I'm falling asleep, a few dreams once in a while, right?
Yeah.
So it is, and that's what I wanted, right? I wanted a whole lifestyle brand, right? So that means work-life balance. It's all integrated into my life. So whether, you know, even I'll incorporate like going out to dinner and a social event, but I'll go out to dinner with influencers or do some type of health workout before and then go afterwards. Like sometimes at work we'll all go out, we'll do yoga, like this hot yoga session, and then we'll go to dinner and stuff like that. So it's all integrated together, and it works really well. So.
Are you thinking about mostly like what events you want to do, what new product ideas you want to come out with, or is it just everything in one? Everything in
one. New product ideas, events, like we're doing this big event in LA next weekend, and so I'm always thinking about this. And my team, you know, we all work. We're all, like my leadership team, we're all the same way. So we were texting late last night. We're texting early this morning. We're sending ideas through each other. And, you know, we'll always like send a message to each other like, hey, what do you think about this? And it'll be like on a Saturday afternoon, and it's like, oh, that's okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So
are you the mastermind behind new product ideas, or does your team kind of come to you and pitch ideas and you approve?
It's both. It's 50-50. Yeah, I think we just launched this performance line, which I'm a huge fan of. That was really my idea to drive, because the thing is, I started the brand right as a runner, as an athlete, trying to recover from that, and started off with the peptides, right, which kind of served that need. But then as the band grew, 80% of our consumers were women taking it for beauty benefits. They were taking it for hair, skin, and nails, right? They were integrating their lifestyle with fitness, with food, with wellness, right, and with beauty, right? It was all integrated together. And that really was what made us a lifestyle brand. Like, we recognized in 2016 that we needed to become a lifestyle brand. But I always say, like, hey, I started this paleo running company, and now I'm running a millennial beauty business. And I'm like, okay, I didn't expect that.
How'd you feel about that?
I'm like, it's like kind of cool, because, you know, one of my strategies or one of my philosophies is, and if you go in our corporate headquarters, there's this big wave, right? And it's kind of symbolic of what our company's mission statement is. Well, not our mission statement, but how we look at things, right? It says, you know, go where the wave is pushing you, go where the universe is taking you, and if it's taking you in the direction of being this health and wellness lifestyle brand with a beauty slant to it, like let's lean into that and really run with it, right?
No,
and so, yeah, so you know, when I got some breathing space, I said, I really want to get back to focusing on what would be an epic performance line. So we call it like the measured athlete. The measured athlete is really someone who's out there working out, but they're tracking it, right? They're trying to get that 4 to 6 days a weekend, right? They're writing down, or they're just memorizing, like, okay, did this work out? Here is my running time. I'm going to try to improve it next time and keep going, and right? Versus just the casual, like, I'm going to go out paddleboarding this weekend. And the thought was, we then tailored and built the products around a pre-workout that were different in the industry, because it's clean, low sugar, no sweeteners, right? And we've created these amazing things. And then I also looked at post-recovery, right? If you look at a lot of post-recovery drinks, or even like if you look at Gatorade and Body Armor, right? Pure sugar, right? sure, people need sugar for fuel, right? But if you're looking at real recovery, the thought is you need branched-chain amino acids, you need electrolytes, you need collagen, taurine, glutamine, all of those. And so we created this post-workout powder and beverage, which is like tastes better than Gatorade, tastes better than Body Armor. It has only 3 grams of sugar in it. There's no artificial sweeteners. It's amazing, right? And then the third one was sleep. Sleep is such, like what I described before, it's such a critical part of the athlete recovering, right? You got to get that 8 hours of sleep, otherwise your body, won't recover. It's the whole pillar of recovery. And so I'm pretty excited. Like I kind of push that along. But I have a great innovation team. We kind of talked about it before the innovation team. I think we came up with 3 or 4 products. Last year we had, so far this year today we've had 37 new products come out.
Wow.
Next year we have a whole handful of products, like
nice.
probably 30
I'm
40
excited
products
for it.
now. Yeah. And the goal is to get incorporate collagen into your daily routine all day long, on any occasion, any form factor, right? The goal is you got to get that 40 to 60 grams of collagen.
And it's the perfect time because people are becoming way more health conscious. Like I feel like before it was like runners, for example, they're like, I can eat whatever I want and running and burning calories. And it was all calorie based, and now people are realizing like, holy crap, it actually matters what I'm putting into my body, the ingredients, and everything that can help. And so I think, you did this at a perfect time.
The timing was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful of just a culmination of a lot of things that happened in 2012 that made this come to reality, right? It was great timing, great idea, great product, right? Great branding, great name, right? It all came together really well.
So what's next for Vital, would you say, in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years. Yeah. I would see us as being probably the major CPG company in a lifestyle wellness brand, right? So when you see like a Pepsi, you see a Nestle, you see Coke, you see, who are some of the other ones, like Danone and Procter & Gamble and Unilever, right? I see Vital in those categories of spaces where we have an entire platform of better for you health and wellness products that go more than just a simple product. It actually integrates into people's lifestyle as well. So.
And you'll get there.
Yeah.
What would you be doing if it weren't for Vital? Where do you think you'd be?
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, this is where the universe took me, and I remember waking up one day, having all the challenges of growing the company, and when you're growing that fast, financing the business, finding the right people, meeting supply and demand. And I remember waking up one morning and go, okay, today's another day. We're going to get through this. And I said, you know what? I was built for this. Like if you look at my career, everything I've done was like little tidbits in here and there, building businesses, and I go, I was built for this. Let's go. So
that's so cool. I love that. It's like an entrepreneur from the start. You guys are so talented from the beginning with it. I mean, that's the best part.
I would say success comes with failure, right? With every failure, you learn something, and you learn to apply that in your next iteration. And just having tried to run a bunch of different companies as well as working in large organizations, right? I have a lot of large corporate experience combined with a small business startup, and kind of integrating those all to grow us to certain points.
I love it. So we are in beautiful Miami. How do you like Miami versus Chicago?
I love it. This is home for me. So if you compare today's weather versus Chicago's weather, which I think is probably like 20 degrees and snowy and cloudy and dark, and this is like home. Just the ocean views and the palm trees and the sunshine.
So you think you'll stay here for a while?
I think this is home. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So one last question: what do you want to be remembered by?
Wow, I've never been asked that question. That's
you
great.
haven't?
Yeah. I
think about it. Think about it.
I mean, I know as an individual, there's 3 drivers in my personality or my core, and that's one is to help people, right? The other is to be challenged personally as an individual to grow, and I think those 2 principles are what I'd like to be remembered for. Is really being able to. It always brings a tear to my eye. I go out. I'm always out. Like I spend my weekends talking to folks and being at events and hearing people come up and say how it changed their. Sorry, I'm crying now. But hearing how it changed their lives and how it significantly impacted them, and that's the most amazing feeling in the world, and it really is what I hope I'm remembered by. So.
It really makes you feel like all the struggles and everything you've done has been so worth it.
Yeah.
Not just for you, but everyone else. It's amazing.
Yeah, to help millions of people is pretty
It's so cool.
pretty epic, yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited to see where it's going to be.
We're expanding internationally too, so we're in Europe now, and we're the #1 collagen now in the UK.
Really?
In the UK.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to like next year's all global expansion. So just expanding the health and wellness sphere beyond the United States is going to be pretty epic.
I'm excited. I think I'm more excited than you are. All right, guys. Well, this is Annie Cooper with the Annie Tunes In podcast with Kurt from Vital Proteins. Thank you guys for watching and listening.
Thank you.
Awesome. I think we did good.
Yeah. It was
How
good.
long was that?